into it. You want to correct honorable members, you are free to do so. I can see the first paragraph and the delegation. We move, but you can stop me anywhere where you want to stop me. I'm even giving permission for people just to speak if I don't see your hand. Honorable Msimak.
Chair.
I'm not sure if you want to say something.
Yes, Chair. Morning, colleagues. I want to check where, as I was going through this report, colleagues might correct me. Maybe I missed it while I was reading the issue of the powers that were removed from the district municipalities to local municipalities. That was sharply raised in two of the districts in Free State. I'm not sure whether it is captured in the report, or it might be the issue of maybe the wording that has been used in order to capture it. So I was saying, it's something that when they were raising, it touched my mind, and I could not forget it. And maybe as I was reading here, I could not then pick up. But of course, colleagues can then be able to then bring light into me to say, no, look, this is how we have captured it. I'm not sure whether we might assist each other in terms of packaging it, in terms of the wording, or maybe leave it the way it is. I'm not sure. Thanks, Chair.
No, I agree with you, but we'll allow the officials to comment if it is written, but it was raised. So it's an issue that must be in the report. So but we'll allow that. Yes.
Oh, sorry, Chair. I think we will come across it when we do the committee observations and recommendations.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
No, that's fine. Let's move then. No, Subalega, don't rush, so that if there's anything that you can move.
Yabaleka wakhona.
Hey, don't run.
Kaloku sihlala ukuthi aseyifundiwe.
Kodwa ke sisafuna nophinda siyijonge.
Tholondo andile. Loo nto mna ndandingekho ndaba ndithetha nto.
Unyanisile Tula.
No, move.
This 316, it's
Okay.
also in a way dealing with this thing of removal of functions from local to the district. I mean, from the district to the local, because the fresh produce market also was taken over by Machabe, and that has reversed economic progress in the district. So this is one way, but there'll be more ways of capturing it as we move along.
Okay.
Chair,
Yes.
Chair, I didn't get what Mr. Solomon was saying.
No, he was saying
On 316.
He was pointing to 316 to say one element of it, this which was being asked by Honorable Msimang, is captured in that item, in that 316. But he's saying further it would be clarified. He was just pointing out which Honorable Msimang was saying it doesn't reflect in the report.
So 4.1 also captures the issue raised by Honorable Msimang.
Okay, yeah. Move.
Nangu nokupleka simfakile sihlalo lo akunika ingxaki pha.
Ngiyambona, ngibona uplayer lo.
And then Chair, also on 7.2, a recommendation is made that the rationale behind the removal of these powers from districts should be clarified to the committee.
Yes.
Chairperson, that is the end of the report.
Yes, thank you very much. Honorable members, that is the end of the report. If there are any issues, in fact, what was coming to my mind now immediately, it's because in April when we were in the Free State, there were issues where we said we must be given feedback. I just wanted to talk about this as a principle, this principle of follow-up, consistent follow-up on issues that get raised. But I'm saying to officials, it would help at times to deal with that. Honorable DM.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think going through the processes of committees and reports, this is the work of the committee. Obviously, there are matters that might later be referred to COCTA, those that are COCTA related nationally, and some are COCTA related in the provinces where you had made the oversight visits, and some will directly be to the municipality. I'll therefore ask if you could then depart, but if officials want to stay, it's up to them. But at that point, obviously, the reports were also circulated to us as by virtue of us being members of the portfolio committee. But obviously, we will wait for the official referral on those issues that will have been identified by the portfolio committee for response. And at a given time, will then come back to the responses as and when dictated to. So then I ask that we be released from the meeting.
Actually, that's what I indicated earlier, because it is obvious this thing must still be processed properly and be referred, as you are saying. But we also didn't want to chase you away. We don't chase anybody away from the committee. It's open. But I think we understand that it must come proper to the department, to a municipality, and to whoever it gets referred. So in other words, I don't expect members here to expect answers from you. We are talking ourselves.
Okay.
Honorable Ronewald, you are released, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Unless Honorable Ronewald is objecting.
Unless they want to, yeah.
Chair, I object for the Deputy Minister to leave. We need someone.
Let's not make it an item, whatever. But let's hear you, Honorable Ronewald.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, now, I just want to ask Andile, in few of these municipalities, we raised the question in terms of Section 139 interventions. I couldn't pick it up in the report, but I know in the first meeting we had, we raised that question, and we asked report, because if I can remember correctly, and I stand to be corrected, but especially Maluti Apefong was removed from Section 139 intervention, although the financials are still in holes. So maybe I've missed that, Andile, but I don't see it in the recommendations as well, to say that there must be a report in terms of the Section 139 interventions to the portfolio committee.
Okay, noted. Honorable Mpumza. Yes.
Chair, good morning to you and good morning to honorable members. Chair, following up on your comment on follow-ups, as well as piggybacking on what Honorable GM Babela was saying. Mine, Chair, is more on follow-ups in this form, not relevant or specific to this specific draft report. That question has reminded me that we had an oversight over KZN, Limpopo, and the Eastern Cape. But particularly, Chair, there are issues. For instance, I don't remember the committee, unless Mr. Solomane would say otherwise. I don't remember us as the committee receiving the draft report related to the virtual oversight that we had in the Eastern Cape with the District of Matole and Owartam. And whilst we were in Limpopo, there were critical issues that were raised in the District of Vembe and the problematic Mkhanakwena. And as we're interacting there, there were indications, there was a promise that as a committee would have a follow-up on those matters as part of oversight, particularly in Limpopo. And we had not made that particular follow-up. And secondly, I'm saying we have not received that report. On the same point, whilst we had those engagements virtually with the Eastern Cape, a matter was sharply raised there because of the problematic nature of that particular virtual oversight with the two district municipalities in the Eastern Cape. And the committee had resolved that it would have, as we did with other smaller municipalities where there was a problem of communication with the mayor. I don't know whether was it still in Limpopo. The committee had resolved that the better way would have to be a physical oversight with OR Tambo and Amatole. So to engage deliberately on those particular matters. I'm saying therefore, Chair, I don't remember us receiving that draft report and adopting it, unless otherwise I had wanted to be sure whether is Mr. Solomane agreeing with me on those particular matters. And if that is the case, what remedial action then the committee would have to do, in particular in those areas? Because a similar matter was also when we had an oversight in KZN with the district of Uku, where there were serious issues, almost over 100 employees were expelled because there was definitely fierce infighting in the municipality. And we agreed when engaging the community that we will have as a committee to once more follow up on that particular municipality. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks. I suspect for purposes of adopting this report on the Free State, I think the officials are noting the comments. My follow-up consistency was also talking to this report to say, as we make all of this, we must not forget on areas where we said, for instance, what prompted me was the question of qualifications of a CFO. I was just saying that, and I could imagine that if we need to know what happened to that. I don't know what we said must happen. But I think we should be noting those issues raised by Honorable Mpumza, unless there's a quick response. But if it requires processing of all those issues, about Amatole, OR Tambo, Ugu, Limpopo, Mr. So command.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Why I'm trying to be slow and say Sokoman? I hear them saying Solomon. So
yes.
I was not sure now whether it's me who is wrong or.
No, you are always.
It was the slip of the tongue, Chair. Sokoman.
Okay.
The Chairperson is always correct. So Chair, all the oversights we did in Northwest, Limpopo, KZN, and Gauteng. The draft reports have been produced. I can remember the one for Limpopo was even 86 and tabled in the House. The others ended up in the office of the previous chairperson, and they had not yet been discussed before the committee, as far as I remember. With regards to the virtual engagements in the Eastern Cape, it was not a formal oversight as such. So it was the normal process of conducting oversights, just like we do with other entities that report to the committee. So there was no oversight report that was expected in terms of the engagement with Amatole and OR TAM. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. But I think we are saying there are those issues, we are noting them, and you have helped us to say there is a report that was adopted and what is the, but we'll follow up on all those. Can I get a proposal for the adoption of this report, first date?
I so propose, Chair.
Proposed. Any second?
Seconding, Chair.
It's supported and the report is adopted. Let's move to the next report. The oversight report in the Eastern Cape. Can we have it? Thank you. We can see it now. I think you can start moving it. Draft report. I think you can see. Cast. It was from the 3rd to the 8th of July. Okay. Anybody would say my name is not spelled properly? Can do so. Now let's move to the background and so even this report was received some time ago.
Sorry, Chair. My network is still locating. Where I am, there is no network. I can't see even whether my name has been okay or not because of the network. Yes.
Your name, let me see.
Correct.
It's correct.
Okay.
Somebody is helping you.
Thanks very much.
Well, correct. Okay.
Hey, Chairperson, I can't hear anything. I don't know where is on my site or is on your site. I can't hear anything.
No, we are not talking. We are reading. You can't see the presentation.
Yes, Chair, I
Nobody-
can't see it. It's still locating. I don't know. I don't know what is happening in this area. Thank you.
No, it's that area. Otherwise, the rest of us, you can see, but we are not talking. We expect any member, when they see something wrong or whatever, to, I was even saying speak without even raising your hand. Because when I put up your hands here, it blocks my vision. But otherwise, we are moving with it. Now we are almost at the last point where we're talking about Buffalo City. Inputs by Alfred and Zod, District Initiation Forum. I think that's where we started. But the report, the way it is written, it will be input by them, then committee members. And, we proceed like that. But any member who sees anything must stop me.
Chair.
Yes,
Honorable Msimang, yeah.
yes, Honorable Msuma.
On the report, that Sokumani will have to assist me. I have not picked up the issue of the age. Currently, our okay, as we were doing the oversight on the IPUMA, the last oversight we did, there was something very interesting that we saw in that Kulela Puma, where the law currently speaks about, I think it's about, is it 30 and above for somebody to qualify? 16.
16.
Yes.
You allow honorable members, Mpumza, Honorable Msimang, to finish what he wants to understand. Honorable Msimang.
Utatu Pumza, we are sure. Okay. Now I'm saying we then said we must raise it as our recommendation. So it might not be in the recommendations, but it might be in the report. You see, now I'm now disturbed. I'm now talking while I'm also reading. But okay, be that as it may, let me finish my point. So what we then observed there was that you might find that, in fact, there was a scenario where you are able to find a young man who is lesser in terms of the age performing that responsibility much and way better than the person that is older, which is allowed by the law. Now, we then said maybe looking at the fact that the society that we live in is revolving, and these skills are now with young people, some are much younger. Maybe we might need to consider the issue of age, because apparently for you to be in Maybe there is a particular age that you must be at in terms of the law, while on the ground is in Maybe as means some of them are much younger than what the law prescribed. So we then said, maybe it might be correct as a department, because part of the things that needs to happen is that as members of parliament, while we do laws, when we go and do oversight, if we see that these laws are not able to be correctly applied on the ground based on prevailing conditions on the ground, we have a responsibility to come back and then say, and correct the issues of age, and so that it fits exactly as and when communities are applying the law on the ground. I remember the words of Honorable Hadebe when he was saying, because the laws that we are doing are not 10 commandments. It's something that you can be able to change, provided you have managed to see that it is not possible to apply it on the ground. So I'm saying, maybe, Chair, let me not elaborate on it. I think I've made my point across. The issue here is just the fact that there is maybe none that can be able to perform the work better than what the law can prescribe as we speak. So it means we've got to look at the issue of amending the issue of age in terms of who qualifies to be Ingcibi. Not sure where it did apply Guma Kankata or but what I noticed is that it deals more with Ingcibi more than Amakankata.
Okay. No, I think let's note it. If it is reflected here, is fine. If it is not, I think at the end we'll note it. In fact, it's part of oversight, what you are reporting about, what we saw there, and relative to the law. This is what we saw. As to what can be done about it, I'm sure over time, as we do this work, will be able to recommend what needs to be done. Unless Mr. Sokoman, you want to say something?
No, Chairperson. From the sites we visited, most of the time we couldn't interact with the traditional surgeons themselves. I recall that some of them didn't want to meet the committee. So I just cannot recall a site where we actually met the Ingcibi and found that they were in fact younger than the prescribed aged in terms of the act. I cannot recall that part.
Okay.
Chair.
Now maybe let's note it and say it might be an area that we want to focus on and check, because the law would definitely prescribe what needs to happen. Then relative to what we observed in our different areas, if we want to do further study on that, that can as well be done, so that we can then advise, when I say advise properly, the process of amending the law, it is a process as well, but it gets informed by the general observation that we make as we visit. Somebody was saying, Chair?
Yes, it was me as a chair. I just wanted to check quickly with Andile there. Whether those challenges will indeed reflect here, because I just want to ask whether there is a certain relationship between the investigations of the police on culprits vis-a-vis the quarterly reports that we receive from the NPA, SIU, and the Hawks, whether those should or have not reached tasks discussed or followed up at this level, Chair, because remember that there is a Tamaha who was forcing that child there in Mthatha. The 15-year-old was forced there, and he was not treated well due to the fact that that Mr. Tamaha actually, I mean that particular person, the surgeon, actually in Tamaha wanted to have a relationship with the mother. And then there's a second one where you have a China who ran away even when you went there, when we divided ourselves, who is a second offender. So I just wanted to ask if it should not reflect under challenges. I don't know where Andy should reflect those things. Because we found some serious irregularities just apart from the issue that was said by Honorable before, who spoke about the issue of that Ingcibi. There is that issue. We found that issue in the body. So I was there with the Honorable member. And he had a problem with the papers that were not even sent to him, and we recommended that he be attending within 14 days he be attending the workshop, because these papers, he had all the papers, he had all the data, but it was not collected from him, and he didn't know much about the law, and he even. We even asked him with the honorable member as to what would he want you to see on his own, because there was a death that happened as a result of an infection of the lungs. And he said that there is a problem with communication and the availability of the police who were not picking up. I think it was and the ambulances that were not available, wherein there was a strike and things like that at the hospital, and such that that child's life was not saved on time. So I don't know, Andy, if you can respond to those issues, whether they are here. Maybe I'm speaking forth here.
I would suggest that before Andy respond, but as you raised those issues, we note them, because the report itself might be stale now, because we have received a report from the province, which is actually updating some of these issues we observed, like on the issue of criminal offenses and investigations and number of deaths. There are changes in terms of what actually happened. But I think what we want to adopt is our report as we visited the Eastern Cape. But one would suggest that let's go through it, then note the issues we want to raise. Unless it's something that we want to correct, that we see it here. So maybe let's say note your issues at the end. Then we would raise when you have not seen it completely.
Okay.
Can we move then?
If I may note here, the matter that was raised by Honorable Msimang, the reason I missed it is because the delegation was divided into two groups. So the issue was in Libode, and we went with your group chair to Ezinkumbini. So, but we'll note it and then include it in the report. And also, Chair, here we also reflect on the issue of China as well, as raised by Honorable Ceza.
Sorry, Andile. Chair, I can't see, I don't know, I can't see the, we went to Port St. John's there in that municipality, then we proceeded to the mountains there, where we went down the mountain, the 18 initiates ran away in that. In fact, some were even looking at us from a distance, calling the people from the village. Unless it's my eyes. Sometimes it's my eyes. So don't worry.
Andile.
I think, Chair, this is the place also, this is China's place as well, where some initiates also ran away with the surgeon. So it was reflected earlier as well. If I may go back, it is reflected here.
China is in Nyandin.
It's somewhere else. China is somewhere.
It's in Nyandin. I remember this one of Port St. John's, where we had to go down a cliff, and some of us, we couldn't get down to that place. It was in Port St. John's. But I think you must find a way to capture it if it is not captured. But it would indicate the same trend where boys run away and the traditional surgeon or traditional nurses as well. They could see us coming down and they ran away. But what I may not know now is the name of the place, but it was in Port St. John's.
Chair.
Yes.
Through your permission, Chair, the one where China, the surgeon with China, Guguzele is in Lubode.
Yes. No, that's what I'm trying to indicate. That what Honorable Ceza is talking about is in Port St. John's. In Port St. John's, the common problem is boys who are underage. They are usually taken to these initiation schools down in the river. and it becomes difficult to get there. But we can note that I think we all will need is the name of the area.
Yes, Chair, it was on the 5th, 2022. There were health certificate difficulties there, the fraudulent signatures, illegal initiation schools, discovered that the boys were communication. There was communication in that boys left before we got to the heart. And then also here the local initiation oversight committees, forums, suspected that their traditional leaders were benefiting from these things and advocating for normalization of illegal schools, receiving bribes from families and things like that, you know.
No, I think what we need to do then, if there's nothing until the end, so you'll have to share your notes with Andy, so that it is also captured here as some kind of scenario that we saw.
Yes, sir.
And here, Chairs, this is the issue of the 15-year-old that was raised by Honorable Preza earlier in when we're in the Eastern Cape.
Yeah. And of the girlfriend and all.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
No, is it captured correctly, Andile, that the boy had a girlfriend, or the initiate?
No,
the maybe wanted the mother. The maybe wanted the mother there, and the mother was not saying yes, and so he abused the boy.
Yes, but there was also a case of a 15-year-old boy who was circumcised forcefully because the father was not happy that the boy had a girlfriend.
Yes. Bread knife, the bread knife scenario.
So the case you are talking about, Honorable Chaza, was in Devon, where the initiate was maimed because the mother refused the surgeon's sexual advances.
Yes, that's the one.
And then earlier you also talked about 18 initiates that ran away. We also recorded that in Copas.
Copas is not in near Mdantsane.
Yes, it is. It is.
But I'm talking about Port St. John's, the first one, if not the second one, from that district of.
No, we will take your notes on Port St. John's because that's the time we lost one another there.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, I remember.
Yes. That is the end of the report, Chairperson.
That's the end of the report with the amendments suggested related to Port St. John's. And I can take your hands now, honorable members. If there are any other issues we want to deal with before we adopt the report? Otherwise, as earlier indicated, we must have received a final report now that will not talk about 9 boys who passed on. I don't know how we relate this report, which was earlier, and the latest, that was a closure report of the season. Maybe it might not form part of what we are supposed to do. I don't seem to see any hands. Then, if no hands, let me get a proposal for the adoption of the report with the amendments that you suggested. Honorable members. Honorable members, let's adopt the report.
Chair?
Yes.
I move, Chair, pending the amendments.
Yes. Adoption proposed with amendments. Any seconder?
I saw second, Chair.
supported. And I think we are clear about amendments that are required, and there will be interaction between yourselves directly with Mr. Sokoman. With that, honorable members, that concludes the business of the day for the committee. And thank you very much, all those who were part of the meeting. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you very much, Chair. Honorable members.
Thanks.
Bye-bye, Tata.
Awuphinda ndikubuyisele pha.
Bye-bye, Tata.
Thank you, Chairperson. Bye-bye, Chair. Bye-bye, Fumza.
Bye-bye, Ma'am Keze.
Honorable Teza.
Bye-bye, Ma'am Keze.
Yay, thank you. Bye.